Hey guys, the Explorer 4 here. Welcome back to some more reviews. And today, we're going to be talking about The Descent. Yes, The Descent from 2005. Now, this film got 7.2 on IMDb by Neil Marshall. This is earlier on in his career. And I basically want to do this review. I didn't even have this planned. This was actually nowhere in the notes of being planned of being reviewed, because I usually plan ahead. I have a whole stack of stuff right here that I want to review. This was actually not planned, but I figured that since I watched it on some spare time, I was like, you know what? I covered it before in a really bad quality video. Just the audio was horrible. The video quality was terrible, and I felt like I just rambled on and on in that review. So a lot of those older reviews, I didn't quite have it down yet. You know, I didn't really have any kind of style or anything down. So, figured to give it an updated review. Of course, Descent, very popular horror film, very famous horror film. One of Neil Marshall's first films he did. I know he did Dog Soldiers right before this. I love Dog Soldiers. There's a movie called Combat, and then a movie called Brain Death, which was actually two shorts he did. But I remember liking Doomsday okay. I remember really enjoying Centurion. He did some Game of Thrones, Constantine, Hannibal, Tales from Halloween. He did a segment in that. I didn't see Timeless. Oh, there was a Lost in Space show? I didn't know that. Apparently he did The Reckoning and Hellboy, which I forgot he did that Hellboy movie. But yeah, Neil Marshall, I like his style. I like the way he directs films. He does have a specific style that I do enjoy. And I thought it really worked in stuff like Doomsday and Centurion. It really works in this film. And of course, The Descent, like I said, everybody knows about this film. This was an extremely popular film back in the 2000s. And I remember the first time I had actually seen this movie, me and my dad were like surfing TV one day, and this was on, I think, Sci-Fi. And I remember watching it that day and thinking it was pretty creepy, and revisiting it years later on when I finally got the DVD. I actually didn't know this version had the alternate ending, which was very different from the version I had seen first. But the story is very simple. You've got, at the beginning of this movie, you've got the lead character, Sarah, played by Shauna McDonald, who's a wonderful lead in this film, does a great job in all aspects as a final girl. And her and her friends are the adventurous types. You know, they just like to go water rafting, you know, and later on they go spelunking. But in the opening, after they're done rafting through the rapids and everything, on the way home, Sarah gets in this accident, in a car accident, and I think it's her daughter and her husband dies. And it's a very brutal way where a pipe goes right through the windshield and kills both the father and the daughter at the same time. It's very, very brutal opening out of nowhere. And it's some time later, she's trying to recover from that. She's still dealing with the trauma, and her friends are going to go spelunking. And so sort of this remote area, this cave that's not on the map, and they're going to take a chance and go down there and see if they could be the first ones to make it through. Of course, they don't know all of that at first. I think it's Beth is this character who you think might be cheating with the husband of Sarah, and it's kind of her idea to go out there, and they end up getting trapped in this cave with these creatures. And I've heard some people describe them as vampires. I've never really considered them vampires. I consider it more of like mutants, like cave mutants. And of course, at the time, this was a big deal, big hit. So right after this, they made The Cave, which I think was projected to be the next big thing. It was going to be these cave movies. And you know what? I've always noticed that Hollywood tries to force trends, and they just don't work. Like, found footage just kind of happened. It wasn't like Hollywood was like, well, we're going to make a bunch of movies about found footage. But the more I think about it, it's like, well, think about the underwater craze. Deep Star 6, The Abyss, Leviathan. You know, all of these movies that really didn't do very well. And with The Descent, it didn't come out at that time where it was like everyone was doing cave movies. But after this, you had The Cave, you had Asylum's The Cavern, you had a couple other ones that none of them really did any good. The Cave was a big flop, I think, and I'm not a fan of The Cave. I've seen that movie. The best part is the poster. The poster is the best part, and the concept is the best part. I like the idea, the concept behind that film. And I really do think that we need more cave horror films. And if anybody out there knows any more cave exploration horror type films, let me know in the comments, because I really like this genre, this subgenre. I think a cave is such an awesome setting for a horror film. And not only do you have the horror of just possibly falling down a cliff, or, you know, possibly being stuck, possibly getting lost in the cave forever, but you also throw in the fact that you have these creatures down there that look real weird. They're blind, and they can only hunt with their, you know, with their hearing. And so they start picking off the girls one by one, and they had to figure out how to escape this cave. That's pretty much the gist of the story. And man, like I said, The Descent, I remember this movie just being everywhere on TV. I remember back when it came out, everyone was talking about it, and I think it was a pretty effective film. I think it still is to this day. This is a horror film that I just watch constantly, and as an example that I think the 2000s is definitely one of the more underrated times for horror. I mean, a lot of people look back at the 2000s and they roast it, they hate it, they call it the torture porn era, they roast Saw, they roast Hostel, but there was a lot of things that came out in between those. I mean, yeah, you had the remake craze, but within that craze, that sort of hype train, you had Hills of Ice, the remake, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake, which I think are some of the best remakes, Dawn of the Dead, the remake. You know, there's a lot of good examples of horror remakes out there from the 2000s. And so I really don't know what was so bad about the 2000s. Everybody looks back on it and roasts it more than the 2010s. And I think the 2010s is way worse than the 2000s, because 2010s it was all Insidious, Paranormal Activity, and Conjuring. So at least at this time you had a little bit of everything going on. You had stuff like this, creature feature type flicks. You had the paranormal stuff. You had remakes. You had the slasher films like Hatchet and Leslie Vernon coming out. So it was a decent time for horror films. But this movie has so much going for it. I love the cast. I love all these characters. There's not one bad actress here. They all do an amazing job. It was very unique and very awesome that we had a horror film with all female cast, which I thought was great and made it stand out and very different. The practical effects and gore are amazing. They keep it surprisingly practical for the most part. There may be some CGI here and there, but for the 90% of the movie, it's practical effects. And I guess they built sets for the caves and everything, and it looks authentic and real. So I don't know if they shot some of it on location or if they did it all on a soundstage, but it looks very, very effective. The direction by Neil Marshall is very strong. The cinematography, the writing by Neil Marshall, because he also did the script. I think in all aspects, all around, this is one of the best horror films out there. And like I said, it's for a subgenre that's not really explored that much. I can't think of too many other horror films I've seen that take place in a cave, other than The Cave and The Cavern, which both kind of suck. So, like I said, if anybody has any good recommendations, you know, throw them my way. I want to see more of these. But yeah, I mean, it's brutal. The build-up, the slow build-up to the mystery of, okay, there's something else down here with these characters. What is it? You're seeing things move around in the background. You're, you know, noticing that they're finding these cave paintings, and I would say that's a bit of a nitpick. It's kind of ironic that they found this painting in the cave that just so happens to tell them the way out. I'm like, what? But you get this idea that there were people there before, from hundreds of years ago, that never made it out. And the certain rooms and like certain caverns they find with just like bones piled up everywhere. There's one with like dead bodies and just rotten corpses everywhere. A pit with just blood that this character Sarah falls into. There's this pit of blood, and that shot of her right here, rising up out of the blood, just covered head to toe. And I like the transformation of this character. She starts out as a very kind of normal, just trauma-ridden, not very sure type of character, to where at the halfway point she becomes this badass, independent, just do whatever she's got to do to get out of there type of person. And she realizes that one of the characters basically killed another person by accident. I think it's the Beth character. It's either Beth or Juno. I think it might be Juno, actually. Yeah, it's Juno. My bad. I was saying Beth. I meant Juno. She's the person that was cheating with the husband and everything. My bad. But yeah, there's like some inner turmoil going on. She turns on Juno, leaves her in the cave, and just the emotion in this movie of every intense scene, every sequence. It's just blood pumping, intense, gripping your chair type of scenes. The ending is just really effective. I like the theatrical ending a bit better, even though it's kind of a weird... Because the theatrical ending, she made it out. You can say that jump scare that happened was just a hallucination she had. But this ending, they kind of do more of a thing where it's... her scene, she didn't get out of the cave, she's still stuck there, she's seeing hallucinations, you hear the creatures in the background, and you assume that she's gonna die. I don't really like that ending. I'm more of an upbeat ending kind of person, so I like the theatrical ending better. But yeah, I mean, it's just all around great. The music, the emotion, the ending of the lead character Sarah just digging through the ground to get out, and the music kicks in and she's crying and screaming. This girl, Shauna McDonald, did an amazing job in this film. An absolutely amazing job. She's very just emotional and just goes through hell in this movie. And you feel so bad for this character. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just all around. Every aspect I really enjoyed. So if you haven't seen The Descent, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. It's one of my favorites. One of the best horror films out there. I love it to death. Great film. And I rewatched it, so I figure I'd do a review on it. But anyways, y'all, that's going to be it for my review on The Descent. If you've seen it, comment down below your thoughts on the film. But anyways, that's going to be it. The Explorer 4 is out. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night. Peace.